It's historically iconic, romantically whimsical, and indescribably unforgettable. We're talking about the one and only Paris, France. Hi friends, bonjour mes amis, welcome back to the channel. It's Ashley of The Adventures of Ashley and Alan. In this video, if you've never been to Paris, France, I'm gonna be sharing with you 15 unique things that you can do that's gonna make you wanna book that trip. Before we get started, if you're a fellow travel enthusiast like myself and Alan, but you want to do so without breaking the bank, we love sharing our travel tips on a budget, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up so we can push it out to more travel lovers. Let's get straight into our list of 15 unique things that you've got to do when you're booking your trip to Paris, France. Now, some of these I've never seen on a travel guide and made our trip unforgettable. That's why I have to share them with you. And others are unique spins to things that you might have heard of in the past. Kicking us off, super cliche and cheesy, but I promise you it will completely make your trip, and that is booking a photo shoot with a local Parisian photographer. Why this was so cool, and it was actually recommended to us by a friend, and we were a little skeptical because we're like, we're not Instagram, models. But it was really cool because the local Parisian was able to take us around to all the, top hotspots and get beautiful professional photos done and crop out, all the extra people and just really make them beautiful and professional. So then when we're going around throughout our day, we can actually enjoy the experience. And while we love good selfie here and there, we weren't worried about, oh no, let's get that perfect Eiffel Tower shot. And a lot of people, you'll end up seeing are spending, 10, 20, 30, 40, sometimes hours trying to get those perfect shots. But if you do a photo shoot right away, it's a great way to see the city and to kind of knock out that feeling of, oh no, did I get that perfect shot? Also, then you have beautiful photos that you can actually print out and stage in your home, because who knows, you might not ever go back to the city of love and you don't want those photos sitting on your camera roll. Second recommendation is staying at a local Airbnb, and there's a lot of reasons for this besides just a cheaper accommodation than hotels. First off, you want to figure out what part of the neighborhood that you want to stay in, and Airbnb has just so many great options for you. You can pick a different theme, you can figure out kind of what matters most to you and what you want to be near the most. I personally recommend making sure that you stay near a train station. It really doesn't matter kind of how close you are to the Eiffel Tower or things like that, but as long as you're near a train station that goes to multiple lines around the city, you'll be good to go. We personally stayed in Montmartre near Sacre-Coeur, and that was perfect because it was in walking distance to Le Metro, and we were able to get all around the city very easily. Why I also recommend booking an Airbnb, besides the fact that it's much more affordable than hotels, is that most Airbnb hosts now, they have experiences or they have booklets and guides and really neighborhood recommendations that you'll kind of only hear from the actual locals. So instead of going to that coffee shop that just looks really colorful that all the tourists are going to, they're going to give you the actual recommendations from the locals. And to me, there's nothing better, especially when it comes to the restaurants and the early morning croissants and cappuccinos, than hearing from the locals and getting their recs. I'll go ahead and put the link to the Airbnb we stayed at, and if you want to see more on what we did on our 5-day trip to Paris, watch that in the next video. I'll put that in the description below. Tip number 3, if you're looking for some of the best, most fresh croissants in town, fresh bread, just those sandwiches that you want to take to the Eiffel Tower, you want to focus on getting it from a boulangerie versus a cafe. 1, cafes overcharge, and 2, they're not the freshest. They're not going to be as good as getting it at a boulangerie or a bread shop. These are those mom and pop shops. A lot of times these places aren't really like loud and bright. They might be in a little dingy corner. They might not look the greatest, but they're where all the locals are going really early in the morning to get all their goodies for the day. I was really thankful for our Airbnb host because she recommended this boulangerie in Montmartre, and it ended up being the best ever. So go to a local boulangerie right away in the early mornings. Everything's nice and fresh, and bring a bag and stock up on all your croissants and your cheeses and your sandwiches so you're good for the day. Tip number 4, take advantage of the subway system or Le Metro. Now you're gonna wanna download the app. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the screen and in the links below. It's the RAATP app, and that'll show you kind of all the systems and all the lines that you're gonna wanna go on. Now really price it out because they do have day passes, but you can also get multi-day passes and price out what's gonna be best for you. I highly recommend getting a multi-day pass because that's what Alan and I did, and it was definitely the biggest bang for our buck. Paris is not the biggest city in the world, and the metro can honestly take you pretty much to every arrondissement. So I very much recommend taking the metro, and instead of taking taxis or Ubers, you're gonna be in major traffic anyway. It's gonna be a lot more money. Focus on the metro, get the app, and save some money. Side note, we learned right away that Alan is definitely the navigation person, because right when we got to Paris, I was the one trying to navigate us, and we were hangry coming off the plane, and we were like, this is just not working. Gave it right to Alan. The rest of the trip was fabulous, and we learned Alan's just gonna be our navigator from here on out. If you're going to Paris for multiple days, everyone will tell you have to take at least one day to check out the Palace of Versailles, built by Louis XIV. The Palace of Versailles was made famous by Louis XIV in the 17th century, and it is truly an iconic landmark in Paris that you don't want to miss. You could spend the entire day at the Palace of Versailles. It's about 45 minutes from Paris. However, we're gonna take that one step further, and I'm gonna have you do a bike tour of the Palace of Versailles. So we did a bike tour with the company Boutique Bikes, and what was so incredible about this whole experience, I booked it off of Airbnb Experience, is that they have a meeting place where you meet at the train station, and they get you on this speed train that takes about 45 minutes to get to the Palace of Versailles. And then from there, a tour guide gets you on bikes, and you get to tour the beautiful grounds of the Palace of Versailles that are truly endless. All the greats that lived at the Palace of Versailles, you get to hear their stories in a very memorable, almost like theatrical way. The tour guides give their presentations that make you really remember all of the stories of Marie Antoinette and Louis XIV and 15th and 16th. I still recall stories from our tour guide, Fiona, who I highly recommend. She was just so theatrical and really brought the palace to life. So we got to tour the whole grounds on bikes when everyone else was walking, and it just looked like walking the Palace of Versailles. I've done it before, and it's just so tiring. It's so massive and beautiful, but when I tell you that it's so much better on bikes, like, I cannot stress this enough. So what's so cool is that Boutique Bikes make this an entire experience for you. So you're biking around the entire palace and the whole city area, and then what they do is they take you to a market, so you're getting a bunch of fun things at the market, and they're teaching you how to order at the market. So you're getting cheeses and fruits and breads, and once you get your goodies from the market, they take you back on the bikes, and you get to go to the body of water that's in front of the castle, where Louis XIV would have people reenact battles on the water, and it was just so beautiful. Once you have that whole experience, they take you inside on the tour. But I, again, could not imagine doing this on foot. I did back in high school, and I'm like, this was the best day of our trip, and Alan says hands down, maybe the best day of our entire Europe trip, because it was such an experience. You really bond with your tour group, and it just made it so memorable and not miserable. I prefer memorable versus miserable, and you could take something so beautiful, but the experience could be so arduous that it really just wears you out, and it makes it memorable but a little bit miserable. This was just memorable. Tip number 5 is a cheeky one, and one that I just highly recommend, especially as a late night activity. Grab your partner, grab your friends, or go on a little solo adventure, dress up, and go see a show at the Moulin Rouge. This was so fun. I had no idea what to expect. Just a heads up, there is some, topless nudity involved, but it was done so tastefully, and it was truly like a spectacular. In America, I would compare it to Cirque du Soleil. If you've ever seen a kind of show like that, it was so much going on. It was just so magnificent. You sit at different tables. You can have dinner there. We chose not to have dinner there, but we did get a table, and we got some champagne, I believe, and it was just such an experience. We had so much fun, but I didn't realize anyone was gonna be topless, so that was kind of a surprise to me. But it was done super tastefully, and if you're someone who loves the arts and theater and performance and big costumes, then buy your tickets for sure. All right, tip number 7 shouldn't be controversial, but for some reason it is online, because I've gotten comments for my other video on this that people are like, why are you recommending this? I'm like, this was one of the best things that we did, and that was taking a river cruise on the Seine River. We used the company Bateau Mouche, and we did specifically a sunset river cruise. It was about a 5-course meal. Now, mind you, these experiences, they're more known for the experience versus the Michelin star food. We thought the food was really good, but some people, you know, they didn't think it was like the highest quality, but we thought it was so beautiful, especially if you're with your partner. Like, it was so romantic seeing Paris from a 360 view from the river cruise. Now, mind you, it's first come, first serve, so you wanna get there early because you want that window seat. So anyone who got there early sat next to the window, and anyone who got there a little bit later sat in the middle. And I just couldn't imagine sitting in the middle. Like, you just wanna be pressed up against the window, seeing Paris all throughout. They bring you different courses, they do not rush you. And then what's so cool is that you get to see Paris at night, and there's live music playing. You can go upstairs and just see the beautiful monuments all lit up, see the Eiffel Tower sparkling. It was one of my favorite nights by far, and you just have to do it. Like, I don't know why. Some people don't like it, and I just loved it. Like, you have to do it, and let me know. And by the way, if you're one of those that have done this and you also know that it was just fabulous, let us know in the comments below. Next up, you're gonna go to one of my favorite areas, and that's where we stayed. And that is, you are going to get lost in the streets of Montmartre. This is where I would recommend doing some of your shopping. I would also recommend checking out some of the flea markets. They're only open certain days, so plan accordingly. But Montmartre just has these really fun, interesting boutique shops, and the streets kind of are cobblestone. I mean, everything is cobblestone in Paris, but they go up and down, and there's just all different shops. A lot of people will recommend shopping at Champs-Elysees, a lot of tourist type of travel guides. And Champs-Elysees is really fun and beautiful and grand and huge, especially if you love, you know, iconic stores, like very high-end luxury brands. But if you want more boutique little cute shops, check out Montmartre. At the top of Montmartre is Sacre-Coeur. That is the highest point of Paris. It is also a church that's free to go in, and you're gonna wanna take those photos. Now, mind you, a lot of people are gonna be there at this time, but it is just such a beautiful area. You can also take a picnic up there. I also suggest checking it out during the day, but going back at night, because it's just so beautiful. And the back of Sacre-Coeur is also beautiful. And at night, if you go to the back of Sacre-Coeur and you kind of walk down, there's a bunch of fun restaurants and crêperies and all these fun places that are just so fun. You have to check it out. Number 9, should we talk about it? Should we talk about it? I mean, how can you go to Paris and not go to the Eiffel Tower? Here's the thing though, there are a lot of different ways to do the Eiffel Tower. And here's where I don't want you to be cheap. Because if you be cheap and you get the thing where you climb a billion stairs, again, memorable versus miserable. Do you want your experience to be memorable or miserable? There are a lot of things that I'm like, guys, don't waste your money on this. But there's also a lot of things I'm like, guys, spend the money. So we got our tickets from Get Your Guide, and instead of going all the way to the top, which I've heard is really cool when you have a bottle of champagne, we went to the second highest point that you could go on. And when you do a tour, it's amazing because you get to cut all the lines, and then you take the elevator straight to that floor, and you get to have a tour guide tell you all about it. And it's just such a wonderful experience. And then it cuts your time down from about probably like 4 to 5 hours to about like probably like 1.5. And that is fantastic. And when I say 4 to 5 hours, no joke, like sometimes it could take you all day. I know that sounds extreme, 4 to 5 hours, and let me know in the comments below if you've ever been to the Eiffel Tower, if you ever climbed the whole thing. I did back in high school, and it was just a lot. Maybe if you're one of the training to be an Olympian, then, but if you're like me, we did the Eiffel Tower the right way. To me, that's the only way to do it. Get your guide, get your tickets, get your guide, go to the top, get your photos, enjoy the view, beautiful. Tip number 9 is to check out Arc de Triomphe. This is actually a much better view than the Eiffel Tower because you actually get to see the Eiffel Tower in your view, and you just get to see the streets of Paris. It's beautiful. It's only about €12 to go all the way to the top. And the Arc de Triomphe close to sunset as well is beautiful because you get to see all the streetcars buzzing in and out, and it looks so cool. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, Ashley, we are already on number 10 and you have not said probably the most iconic besides the Eiffel Tower thing to do in Paris. Well, there's a reason. This is the 15 most unique things to do in Paris. You're gonna say the Louvre, and the Louvre is fabulous. The Louvre is fabulous. And it's so pretty from the outside as well. Definitely recommend, if you're an art lover, go to the Louvre. But my unique recommendation is get your tickets ahead of time so you can cut the lines. And also look up the artwork ahead of time, because the Louvre is so massive that I really suggest, if you really want to go to the Louvre, to pick out your pieces and your exhibits ahead of time so you don't get too overwhelmed, and so you don't, if you do not want to spend 5 hours at the Louvre, so you can really hone in on your pieces. But my other unique tip is, if you like other types of art, for instance, if you are a fan of Impressionism art and you want to say, for instance, Monet's Water Lilies, then you're gonna want to check out Musée de l'Orangerie. There's so many gorgeous art museums in Paris. That's why I just can't wait to go back. Right, Ellen? Right, Ellen? Should we go back next year once we're married? He loves me. Moving on. Oh, this one was so fun. And if you have another night and you have nothing to do because you already saw Rouge and you already, got lost in the streets of Montmartre and you're like, where should we go? Well, I know exactly where you should go, and that is a Parisian speakeasy. There are a lot of these, but we went to Très Particulier. I'll go ahead and put a link to the short where I take you to Très Particulier if you want to go to that speakeasy. There are a lot of other speakeasies that you can find, but that's the one we went to, and it was so beautiful, and it was underground. You had to say a little password, and you just felt like you were in the show Emily in Paris. It was so worth it. It just, Or Passport to Paris. Does anyone remember that movie? Oh my God. Should we watch that tonight? Yes, we should. All right, our next unique tip, and this is a fun one, and you would think that Alan maybe wouldn't want to do this, and he loved this. We were able to take a day in each city and just say, this is our day. We are going to eat our way through the city and not really plan any museums and really focus on eating and like window shopping. And so I highly recommend taking a day and going to these top croissant places. If you love croissants, that was literally so fun. And we also found the best pits, I think, in Paris, but I'm always open to suggestions because I'm sure there's so many other fabulous places. It is so fun just eating your way through a city, spending all day doing that and shopping and not having any major have to get here at a certain time on your to-do list. Because a lot of these places, they do have certain time constraints, right? Like you get your tickets and you are trying to go to these places at certain times, and because you're walking everywhere, taking the metro, like it just takes time to get around the city, and it can just create a lot of fatigue. And what do we focus on, guys? Memorable over miserable. And these days were just so fun, especially because it was kind of rainy. So we found the best pâtisseries and croissant places around Paris. If you want to see the places that we found and recommend, watch the next video, and that is what we did for 5 days in Paris. All right, guys, we are rounding the corner. We are on number 14 of the unique things that you're going to do in Paris, and that is find the best souvenir. Now, souvenirs are all up to you, right? I don't really like the tchotchke type of souvenirs. I love doing this. People on my Instagram really took to it. I don't know why. It inspired them. But basically, I love going to a local bookshop in every country I go to and finding a children's book in that language. Now, children's books are so fun, and it's just so local and cultural, and also it's a great way to help you learn the language, and it's very memorable, and it's something that's kind of useful. And just having a little shelf of like children's books in all different languages is very cute, and again, it makes for good practice. A very famous bookshop that everyone just loves going to, it is called the William Shakespeare and Company bookstore. Might be the one that you find your book at, but there's also a number of other local shops, and support the local community. Cheers. All right, guys, we have made it. We have made it to number 15. And number 15, something I highly suggest, and I want you to listen to this whole thing because this is so different than anything I've ever heard of. And that is, I highly suggest learning just a little bit of the language before you get to a country, and then creating a cheat sheet on your phone. So I just have a cheat sheet. A lot of people, they'll do Duolingo and they'll learn these things, but then they don't know how to use it and communicate in real life. But then what's the point, right? So make a cheat sheet of even just like, bonjour, excusez-moi, combien de, like how much is this? How I am learning my language that is so different. And this video is not sponsored, by the way. I'm just really passionate about this because I just started it. I studied French in school for probably about 6 years, like high school and some college. And it's been a little bit since I've been in school, and I really wanted to brush up on my French. Well, there's a program that's actually connected to my work, so it is paid through for my work, but I know that you can sign up as an individual, and that is the bustle program, and it is unlike any program I've ever seen. Basically, you take a placement test and it puts you in the level, and it is a self-directed kind of learn as you go, but then also every week you meet with a live coach, and you can meet with someone from that country or a different country that knows how to speak that language. And then that same week, you also meet with a live small group that also tested into your program. So this is called the bustle program. Again, this is not sponsored. I am just very passionate about this. I just got started and I'm already just so enamored by this program. It's just wonderful. I've never seen anything that's so hands-on, and I highly recommend it. It is really incredible to see how people respond to you when you just really try. You know, you just try. When you're in America, you expect everyone to speak English to you. Well, when you're in other countries, why are you expecting everyone to continue to speak English to you? Be respectful. The more that you really take ownership of, this is not my culture, this is not my community, I am a guest. And if I want to be treated well, I need to treat them well. And in order to do that, I should learn a little bit of their language. It is going to just serve you so well in the long run. We had a wonderful time in France. Everyone was so nice to us. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that I could communicate in French. And Ellen was so impressed, but I was like, Ellen, this is just the start and I need to learn more. All right, friends and family, because I know my dad's my #1 subscriber outside of Alan. If you've watched this far, give this video a thumbs up so we can get out to more people. Leave a comment, let me know, just share some of your recommendations. Like, let's start the community chat. There's so many incredible things to do in Paris. Let's share them all. If you're planning out your itinerary of what to do each day, check out my next video. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button for affordable tips and tricks on traveling on a budget. Love you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao, a bientôt.